What I'm about to tell you isn't easy for me to put into words, but if you've ever seen those Labubu dolls, the creepy little toys with big eyes and a huge grin full of teeth, then you'll understand why I need to warn people. I thought it was just some collectible. I thought it was harmless. But the Labubu doll that came into my life changed everything. And if you're listening to this right now, before we get into it, tell me in the comments which city and what time you're watching this from. I'll be checking. Because if this story gets to you, you'll want to remember the moment you first heard it. It started on my 19th birthday. I wasn't planning anything big, just a quiet night with a couple friends. My best friend Sarah came over carrying a wrapped box. "Happy birthday, Daniel," she said with a grin. When I opened it, I was greeted by the strangest looking toy I'd ever seen. It was a Labubu doll. Its eyes were oversized, almost too round, and its mouth stretched into this unsettling grin filled with sharp little teeth. Its fur was an off-white color, with long rabbit-like ears that bent slightly forward. Sarah laughed. "I know you like creepy stuff. Figured this would be perfect." I chuckled nervously. "Yeah, thanks. It's definitely creepy." I set it on my desk next to my computer monitor and we carried on with the night. But later, after Sarah left, I swear I could feel its eyes on me. The next morning, I noticed the grin. It seemed different, wider. Not by much, but enough that it caught my attention. I thought maybe I was overthinking. Maybe the shadows were just hitting it differently. I shrugged it off. But a few nights later, something happened that I couldn't explain away. I woke up thirsty around 2 a.m. As I walked past my desk to grab some water, I froze. The doll was facing me. I could have sworn I had left it turned toward the wall earlier that day, but now it was angled perfectly, staring straight at my bed. Its grin looked even bigger. My heart pounded. I told myself maybe Sarah was pranking me somehow, or I just hadn't paid attention. But deep down, I knew I hadn't moved it. I turned the doll back toward the wall, forcing myself to ignore the unease crawling up my spine. A few days later, I was brushing my teeth when something happened that still makes me feel sick to remember. I looked in the mirror, and for just a split second, I saw myself smiling. Not a normal smile. The same stretched, toothy grin as the Labubu doll. I stumbled back, dropping my toothbrush. The reflection flickered back to normal, but I swear it wasn't my face for that moment. I ran to my room and checked the doll immediately. Its grin was wider. Again, I decided to tell Sarah. I expected her to laugh, maybe call me paranoid, but when I told her, her face went pale. "You still have it?" she asked quietly. "Yeah, why? What's wrong?" "I didn't buy that one. I thought you gave it to me as a joke. It just showed up at my apartment one morning." My stomach dropped. "So you don't know where it came from?" I asked. She shook her head, looking uneasy. "Daniel, maybe you should get rid of it." That night, I stuffed the doll into my closet, but I couldn't sleep because of the scratching. It started around midnight, faint at first, like little claws scraping against wood, coming from inside the closet. I lay there frozen, staring at the door, listening to it scratch. For hours, things got worse. A week later, I was at the dinner table with my parents. Everything was normal until I looked up. My mom was smiling. Not her normal smile, her mouth stretched too wide, teeth looking sharper than they should. Then my dad turned to me. He had the same grin. I dropped my fork, my chest tightening. "What's wrong?" my mom asked. But her voice sounded perfectly normal, like nothing was happening. I blinked, and suddenly their faces looked normal again. But I knew what I saw. That night I had the most vivid nightmare of my life. I was standing in my room. The doll sat on my desk, but it wasn't small anymore. It was my height, its grin stretched from ear to ear. It whispered my name. "Daniel. Daniel." I tried to run but couldn't move. My feet felt glued to the floor. Its mouth unhinged wider, revealing endless rows of razor-sharp teeth. Darkness stretched inside it, pulling me closer. When I woke up, I was standing in front of my desk. My hand was reaching toward the doll. Its grin was wider. I couldn't take it anymore. I stuffed the doll into a trash bag and tossed it in the dumpster outside. The next morning, it was back on my desk. Same position, same grin. I nearly screamed. I called Sarah, begging her to come over. When she saw the doll, she recoiled. "It looks different," she whispered, "like it's changing." We decided to burn it. We took it to an empty field at night, poured lighter fluid on it, and set it on fire. The plastic melted, its face bubbling away, its grin sagging into black ooze. I felt relief for the first time in weeks. But that night, the smell of burnt plastic filled my room. The doll was back, charred black, melted and twisted, but smiling wider than ever. That's when things started spreading. At the grocery store, I noticed a man grinning at me from across the aisle. Not a friendly smile, the same Labubu grin. I looked away quickly, but when I glanced back, 2 more people were smiling. Then 3, then half the store. Dozens of faces turning toward me, all with that same stretched, toothy grin. I abandoned my cart and ran out. That night, Sarah called me. She was crying. She said she couldn't stop smiling, that her cheeks bled when she tried to close her mouth. I rushed to her apartment. She was sitting in the dark, grinning wide, tears streaming down her face. "Daniel, it hurts," she whispered. Her lips trembled, but the grin didn't break. And then she laughed. Not Sarah's laugh, something else, something inside her. After that, everything spiraled. Every time I passed a mirror, I saw the grin, longer each time. Sometimes I couldn't even force my own mouth shut, like invisible strings were pulling it wider. My jaw ached constantly. My teeth felt sharper. Even when I looked at strangers on the street, they grinned at me. The world was changing. Or maybe I was. The doll sits on my desk right now as I record this. Its grin takes up most of its face. Sometimes its mouth moves silently, whispering words I can't hear. Everyone I see now smiles at me, my neighbors, my parents, even people online during video calls. It's everywhere. And I don't know how much longer I can resist, because sometimes I catch myself smiling back, and when I do, it feels good. Too good. Like the smile isn't mine anymore. So if you ever see a Labubu doll, don't touch it. Don't look at it too long. Don't even smile back, because once it finds you, you'll never stop smiling. And if you think I'm lying, do me a favor. Look at yourself in the mirror tonight. See how wide you're smiling. I never thought urban exploration could ruin my life. I used to watch videos of people sneaking into abandoned hospitals, schools, and malls. It always looked thrilling, like stepping into forgotten time capsules. But one night, my friends and I broke into an old orphanage on the edge of town. And inside, we found something that still haunts me to this day. It was early October, a chilly night when the air smelled of wet leaves. My friend Marcus had been bugging me about checking out an abandoned building he'd heard rumors about. "They say it used to be an orphanage back in the 60s, he told me. "Closed down after some fire, nobody goes near it now." "Sounds fake," I laughed, like some cliché horror movie. But Marcus insisted, and soon it was me, him, and our friend Leah standing in front of a rotting 2-story building hidden behind rusted gates and overgrown weeds. The orphanage. Its windows were shattered, its bricks darkened by decades of grime. The wooden doors sagged, one hanging off its hinges. "This is it," Marcus grinned, pulling out his phone. "Let's see what's inside." We ducked inside. The air was thick, stale, like old ashes and mold. Our flashlights swept across crumbling wallpaper and broken furniture. "Creepy," Leah muttered. "Feels like the walls are watching." The deeper we went, the stranger it felt. The silence wasn't just silence. It was heavy, suffocating. Then we reached the first hallway. And that's when I saw them. Dozens of dolls lined up along the walls. Not porcelain dolls, not teddy bears, but Labubu dolls. Each one identical. Wide black eyes, sharp little teeth and stretched grins, long rabbit ears bent forward. Some were missing patches of fur. Some were cracked, their smiles warped. But they were everywhere, sitting on shelves, tucked into broken cribs, propped against peeling walls. "Holy shit," Marcus whispered. "These things are creepy." Leah bent down, shining her light on one. "What are they even doing here? They didn't make these back then, did they?" I didn't know, but something about them felt wrong. We pushed deeper into the orphanage. The halls led us into a wide room filled with tiny rusted beds. The walls were covered in soot. And on every bed sat a Labubu doll, rows and rows of them, sitting upright, all facing the same direction, toward the door, toward us. "Okay, this is messed up," Leah said, backing closer to me. I felt it too, like the dolls were waiting. That's when Marcus spotted something at the back. A burned chalkboard, half broken. Scrawled across it in faded white was a single sentence. "Smile wide, children. Smile forever." My skin crawled. "Guys, maybe we should leave," I said quietly. But Marcus shook his head. "Not yet. We need to see the basement. That's where the fire started." We found the door in the back hallway. Rusted metal, half burned. A padlock hung broken on the handle. The stairs creaked under our weight as we went down. The basement smelled stronger than anywhere else, thick with ash, mold, and something sour like rotting meat. Our lights cut through the darkness. landing on piles of broken furniture, scattered toys, and burned walls. And more dolls, hundreds of them, stacked in heaps against the walls, melted and twisted by fire, their smiles still sharp through the blackened plastic. Leah gagged, "I hate this. Can we please go?" I was about to agree when Marcus's flashlight caught something on the far wall. Words scratched deep into the concrete. "We live inside the smiles." That's when Leah screamed. I spun around, flashlight shaking. One of the dolls had fallen off the pile. Or it moved. It now sat upright in the middle of the floor, facing us. "Did you see that?" Leah cried. "No," Marcus stammered. "No way." Then another doll shifted, slowly, turning its head toward us. Dozens of glassy eyes glinted in the flashlight beams. I swear I heard tiny giggles echoing through the basement. That was enough for me. "We're leaving. Now." We bolted up the stairs, our footsteps thunderous against the old wood. But when we reached the front door, it was closed. I remembered it being half open when we entered. Now it was shut tight. Marcus yanked at it, but it wouldn't budge. Leah shined her flashlight around. "The dolls, they're not here anymore." She was right. The rows that had lined the hallways, gone. The hallway was empty. That's when the scratching started, all around us, from the walls, from the ceiling, from the floor, like dozens of tiny claws. And then laughter, high-pitched, childlike, echoing through the halls. In a panic, we rushed upstairs, hoping for another exit. The second floor was worse. The walls were covered in drawings, childlike scrawls of smiling faces, drawn in black ash and something red. Every door we passed creaked open on its own, revealing more rows of dolls sitting inside. Their heads all turned toward us in unison. We stumbled into one of the larger rooms, what must have been a playroom. And there, painted across the wall, in huge letters, "Smile wide with us." My chest tightened. I felt like I couldn't breathe. That's when Leah froze. "Guys, do you hear that?" We listened. Footsteps. Small, running footsteps. Dozens of them echoing above and below us. Then voices. Children's voices. Whispering, chanting, overlapping. "Smile wide, smile wide, smile wide." My flashlight flickered, and in that split second of darkness I saw them. Not dolls. Children. Burned, blackened children, their faces melted, their mouths stretched wide into impossible grins. When the light came back, they were gone. Only the dolls remained. At that point, I lost it. We ran blindly through the halls until we found a window half broken, glass shards still jagged in the frame. Marcus smashed the rest with his flashlight and climbed through. Leah and I followed, cutting our arms on the glass as we scrambled out into the night. We didn't stop running until we were blocks away, lungs burning, hearts pounding. When we finally looked back, the orphanage sat silently in the distance. Dark, empty, like nothing had happened. That was 2 months ago. Since then, Leah refuses to talk about it. Marcus swears we imagined it all. But I know we didn't. Because sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear them, the giggles, the whispers. And sometimes, when I walk through my apartment at night, I see them sitting in the corner. Not the burned children, the dolls. Dozens of Labubu dolls grinning at me. And every morning when I wake up, there's one sitting on my nightstand, always smiling wider. So if you ever think about exploring an abandoned building, especially an old orphanage, don't. Because the children there never left. They're still waiting, smiling forever inside those dolls. And maybe if you're unlucky enough, they'll be waiting for you too. My name's Daniel, and I've always been a collector. Not of sports cards, not of comic books, but of strange things, creepy things. I've always had this fascination with objects that felt like they had stories behind them. Dolls, masks, antiques, anything that looked a little unsettling. Maybe that sounds weird, but I liked the idea that owning them meant I was preserving little pieces of forgotten history. But I need you to listen closely to this, because the last thing I brought into my house was different. It wasn't just creepy, it was cursed. It was a Labubu doll, and it nearly destroyed my life. This whole thing began with an online auction. It was around 2 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep, so I was scrolling through listings on a site I used for collectibles. I had this habit of searching late at night because that's when the weirdest stuff usually popped up. That's when I saw it. The listing title said, "Rare Prototype Labubu Doll Collector's Piece." The photos caught my attention immediately. The doll wasn't like the usual colorful, cartoonish Labubus I'd seen before. This one was off. Its fur looked aged, almost yellowed, like it had been sitting in a basement for decades. Its grin was stretched unnaturally wide, with teeth that didn't look like plastic. They looked jagged, human. Its glassy black eyes reflected the camera flash in a way that almost looked alive. And then I read the description. Do not display near mirrors. Do not keep in the bedroom. Never smile back. At first, I thought it was just some clever gimmick, to make it more mysterious. Sellers do that kind of thing sometimes to drive up bids. But something about that warning stuck in my head. I shouldn't have placed a bid, but I did, and I won. The box arrived 5 days later. It was heavier than I expected, and the cardboard looked like it had been reused several times. Torn tape layered over older shipping labels. Inside, the doll was wrapped in old newspaper that smelled faintly of smoke. The paper itself was brittle, yellowed, almost crumbling in my hands. When I finally unwrapped it, I froze. The pictures online hadn't done it justice. The doll's fur was matted, like real animal hair. Its glass eyes had tiny cracks around the edges, as if they'd been under pressure. And that grin, I don't know how to describe it except to say it didn't look sculpted. It looked organic, like someone had taken a real person's mouth and copied it onto this thing. I felt uneasy, but I told myself it was just another collectible. Something rare, something unique. So I put it on my display shelf with the rest of my collection. And that night, as I got ready for bed, I couldn't stop thinking about the warning in the description. Never smile back. The first few days, nothing happened. Then one morning, I noticed the doll wasn't on the shelf anymore. It was sitting on my desk, perfectly upright, facing my computer chair. I lived alone. I told myself I must have moved it and forgotten, but the same thing happened the next night, and the night after that. No matter where I put it, I'd wake up to find it closer to me. On the desk, on the floor near my bed. Once, right on my nightstand, angled so it was staring directly at me as I slept. The feeling of waking up and seeing its grin inches from my face made my skin crawl. I thought maybe I was sleepwalking, moving it around without realizing, until the night I woke up at 3 a.m. and saw it moving, its head slowly turning toward me. I decided to sell it. I tried listing it on the same auction site I'd bought it from, but every time I uploaded a photo, the site froze. 3 times in a row, my entire computer crashed. It was like the doll didn't want to leave. That night, I was brushing my teeth when I caught something in the mirror. For half a second, my reflection wasn't my own. It was the doll, that wide, jagged grin stretching across my face. I stumbled back, knocking over the toothbrush holder. When I looked again, my reflection was normal. But when I returned to my room, the doll was waiting on my bed, and its grin looked even wider. Weeks passed, and I started feeling drawn to it. I'd sit at my desk, staring at the doll for hours. Its grin seemed to shift the longer I looked, stretching, narrowing, even smirking. At night, I heard faint whispers when the room was quiet, too soft to understand, but always there. One night, clear as day, I heard it whisper my name. I should have been terrified, but instead I found myself smiling back. I didn't even realize I was doing it. My lips would pull into a grin without me thinking. My cheeks would ache, and every time I smiled back, I felt weaker, like I was giving it something I couldn't take back. Desperate to understand, I contacted the seller again. No response. But a week later, a package showed up at my door. No return address. Inside was an old leather-bound journal. The pages were filled with frantic handwriting. Most of it was rambling, about smiles, reflections, teeth. But one line sent a chill down my spine. It lives in the grin. It feeds through mirrors. When you smile back, you invite it inside. The last entry read, I can't stop smiling. My lips are torn. My teeth are gone. It's inside me now. The date was from 1997. After that, things got worse. I'd wake up to find the doll sitting in front of my mirror, perfectly angled so its reflection grinned back. Sometimes its reflection didn't match reality. The real doll would be still, but in the mirror it would tilt its head, or wave, or open its mouth wider. One night, I stared into the mirror and saw myself smiling, stretching wider and wider until blood trickled from my lips. I smashed the mirror with a chair. But in the shards, the doll's reflection remained, grinning from every broken piece. I started blacking out. I'd sit down for lunch, blink, and suddenly it would be night. My jaw ached constantly. My gums throbbed like my teeth were loose. My sister came to check on me one day. The moment she walked into my room, she froze. "Why are you smiling like that?" she whispered. I wasn't smiling. At least I didn't think I was. But when I touched my face, I felt it. My lips stretched unnaturally wide, blood at the corners. And on my desk, the doll grinned wider than ever. The journal mentioned a ritual, a way to destroy the doll. It said to break its teeth. Every single one. That night, I grabbed a hammer. My hands shook as I raised it over the doll's jagged grin. But when I brought it down, pain exploded in my own mouth. I screamed, stumbling back. Blood filled my mouth, and when I spat, 3 of my own teeth hit the floor. On the desk, the doll was untouched, but its grin was sharper, fuller. like it had taken mine. I don't know how much time has passed since then. I can't stop smiling. My lips are torn, my cheeks ache, my gums bleed, but I can't close my mouth. Every mirror shows the doll instead of me. Every reflection grins back. I've tried throwing it away, burning it, smashing it. It always comes back. It's on my desk right now, staring at me as I record this. And I know soon there won't be anything left of me, just the grin. So if you ever see a Labubu doll for sale, especially one that looks different, don't buy it. Don't touch it. Don't smile back. Because once you do, you'll never stop smiling.